And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, great leaders and great scholars. Thank you very much for joining us once again tonight. As we discuss leadership, as we converge as leaders and scholars to sharpen one another, to empower each other, to inspire each other, we are here to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, and to co-learn together. We do this weekly, and we meet, and we've grown together. Yes, and thank you so much for joining us again tonight. We've got a super pamper masterclass that we'll be having tonight. As I said earlier on, we are just here to encourage each other, to correct each other, to admonish each other, because leadership, it's a journey. Leadership is not a destination. Great leaders must constantly develop themselves. You stop developing yourself, you'll be obsolete. So that's why every week we come here. If it was a political gathering, we'll be saying we are coming to Zohabula. You know, there's this terminology in politics, there is umhabulo. So yeah, same thing. We just come here to learn from each other. That is why peers empower the peers. You know that saying which says, as an iron sharpens another iron, so shall men. Here we are saying, as an iron sharpens another man, so shall leaders empower each other. And that is why we are here. My name is Mazwe Majola. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. As I've said earlier on, we do this every week. And thank you so much. May I welcome our regulars and our members, those men and women who are here almost every week or as often as possible. As you know, that we learn a lot from each other. Honestly, we learn a lot from each other. I don't know how I can express that. So grateful to have people, great scholars, great leaders who attended this platform, and as we share insights together and as we learn from each other. And a special welcome to those colleagues who are joining us for the first time. If you are here for the first time, thank you so much. You've come to a right place. And please do feel at home. This is a safe space where leaders meet. So just feel at home and do participate. The format is that I will be introducing our speaker. She will address us. And then after that, we'll just get into questions and answers and conversation. So please do feel at home. We like to learn from you, like to hear from you. So tonight we are discussing a very interesting topic, responsible leadership. It cuts across everything, wherever you are, as long as you are in leadership, responsible leadership, you'll find it anywhere and everywhere. And we're so glad that we are joined by my sister. She's not a stranger in this platform. She's one of us, part of this platform. She has addressed us many times before, and I had to go and call her and say, please, sis, come back. You know that whenever you are here, we learn a lot from you. So I'm so glad that in her busy schedule, she was able to accommodate us tonight. And I'm so glad, as I'm saying, that really she understands this platform. She knows the format. She knows everything. My sister, Nomvuyiso Batyi. So I'll be introducing her. Just a brief bio. As you know, that at this level, she'll be having a long list of things, but just a shortened bio so that we know her, and then she will address us or take us through on this important, or rather, this important topic, the responsible leadership. Ms Nomvuyiso Batyi is the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Comms and Technology, which is called ACT or ACT. It's a non-profit organization that serves as a unified voice for for South Africa's information, communication, and technology, which is called ICT sector. She also serves as the board deputy chairperson and the non-executive director of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC. So she's the deputy chairperson that SABC board. She has had several senior leadership roles in both public service and industry and private sector. Previously, she served as interim CEO of the Film and Publication Board. Also, she was the head of the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution Program Management Office, and also an acting Director General of the Department of Communications. She also led the National COVID-19 Response Project Management Office for the Communications and Digital Technology sector, ensuring critical access to services during lockdown. When she was head of the Presidential Commission of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission, she ensured that government had a strategic implementation plan for 4IR. Ms. Batyi has extensive regulatory and governance experience, having served 2 terms as a councillor at the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, which is called ICASA, where she oversaw key projects, including local content quotas, licensing of commercial radio and television services, and call termination regulations. She has also held senior positions at Prime Media Broadcasting and the Competition Commission. She holds a Master of Business Leadership from the University of South Africa, UNISA, and also BProc and LLB degrees from the University of Fort Hare. A passionate public servant and strategist, she is committed to advancing the ICT sector and driving inclusive growth in South Africa's digital economy. That is Ms Nomvuyiso, ladies and gentlemen, if you can welcome me. Ms Nomvuyiso, thank you so much, sis. Thank you so much for really, availing yourself. I know that you're very busy, but thank you so much. Here are your people. You know this platform, and we always enjoy you when you are here. You can go ahead, my sister. Thank you very much. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof, and good evening, everyone. And thank you for the warm welcome. It is a privilege and an honor to come before you because you are such wonderful scholars. And so I've decided for today, when you reached out to me, I was like, what is the most thing that is bothering us in South Africa? And I actually said, actually, it's this topic of being responsible leaders. What does it mean? And I must say that I take my cue from a book actually published earlier this year by Professor Myers de Klerk of Stellenbosch University, wherein he actually talks to wherein he talks about the world that we're living in, the world wherein we are faced with different leadership frameworks, and we are having a lot of competency models when it comes to leadership. And we have a lot of programs that some of us attend, and but by each and every measure that is being looked out there, especially if you are looking at people at, let's say, managerial supervision level, political leadership, you would see that leadership is failing. And it's not failing gradually, it is failing marginally. And actually, it has gotten from bad to worse. So this one, what I've tried, let me say, colleagues, what I've tried to do, I've tried to do a PowerPoint presentation I will share with you on Friday because I'm traveling to Mpumalanga. It decided to write in hieroglyphics because I was doing an Apple, I was using the Apple tablet, but now I'm using my Word document. So, Prof. Marius, what he says in this book is that when we're looking at leadership, it starts in his argument says leadership starts with being, that being from the core values of who you are as a person, right? As to how you were brought up and related things, and then it manifests itself in the work that you do. So he has come up with this model that includes a 10-point manifesto. I'll just highlight it later on, amongst other issues. And he says at the crux of it, people have lost trust in leadership, wherein there is a trust crisis. We don't have to go far. We have to watch your news on TV. I mean, if you are looking at the examples that are happening in Iran, you can see how people have lost trust in leadership. Then you come to the South African example, right? Wherein here in South Africa, we're facing a crisis at an institutional level, right? And we have a report, for instance, you would have seen last year, the latest report of the Edelman Trust Barometer, wherein it's based a survey of 33,000 adults across 28 countries. It actually found that 70% of the respondents believe that government officials, corporate leaders, and journalists deliberately misled them by saying things they know to be false or that are grossly exaggerated. We see this each and every day. And the irony of this report, when you're comparing it to the one that was published in 2021, because that was the one before the 2025 one, is that it has risen by more than double digit. It's sitting at more than 12%, the trust deficit thereof. And then we also says that the trust in business executive has dropped by 21% since 2021, right? Then it says 6 in 10 people globally now report a moderate to high sense of grievance, not disappointment anymore, not disillusionment, but active grievance towards government, business, and the wealthy. So that is like the global picture. And then coming closer to home, we have the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation. They published the South African Reconciliation Barometer. The one that they published was last year. So this is one of the public opinion survey found that 8 in 10 South Africans distrust national leadership. If this figure has actually been hardened over the past 2 decades of democratic governance, instead of softening it. And actually, the trust in national government has collapsed from 2007, it was sitting at 63%. And then in 2023, it was sitting at 32%. And trust in parliament has fallen from 62% in 2007 to 33% as of 2023. And then most people believe that corruption that happens in South Africa, 82% of the people believe that corrupt officials routinely get away with it. And we've seen that with this report, if you go through in detail, that 80% of South African citizens do not trust their political leaders. And this has not improved since the formation of the GNU. That is very clear. So when you see a country who has citizens that have lost faith in those who govern them, right? And 60% of those believe that the same leaders are actually going out of their ways to mislead them. We are no longer looking at a governance problem, right? We are looking at a issue of trust deficit. So this is one of the causes that is being argued that if you are looking at different reports, even last night there was another report that I saw that is actually demonstrating that day to day South Africans are, are distrusting the government. The picture is none different as well in the a world of employment, in the world of corporate, right? Both in public sector organizations such as state-owned entities as well as normal private sector corporate, that you find that 62% of employees are not engaging with work. They are doing the bare minimum. They are detached, going through the motions, right? And a further 50% are actively disengaged, working against their organizational goals. So that's where we find ourselves as within the global and in South African context. So it is believed that this trust deficit is costing the world, which includes South Africa in itself, in excess of $8.9 trillion annually, which is equivalent to 9% of the global GDP. So you will see that it is what is evident is that the diagnostic that has been made is that it's not because people are lacking skills, right? Or there are systems that are in crisis, or resources that are, because we know even here in South Africa, we have resources, right? But we have a leadership that fails to take responsibility. So that's where we find ourselves in a crisis. Just to give simple examples, if you are looking from a government point of view, you've seen the various commissions, including the one that we are looking at, how the state has collapsed. You have looked at the March to March that is happening, the 30th of June deadline that is being touted around. And now all of a sudden, there's 600 million that has been found to deal with the crisis that has been happening for a number of years, that leaders have not taken responsibility. Even in our corporate world, I mean, I think most of you, many times the examples have been made about the Steinhoff saga that has collapsed many homes just because we knew it as the IKEA of Africa. And you look at Tonga Hewlett, what is happening at Tonga Hewlett. So this is wherein you see closer to home that this is the crisis that we're having, that leaders are not taking responsibility in what they are supposed to be doing. So now we move briefly to what he terms the 10 principle manifesto. This is first published in 2024. So here, the difference with this manifesto is that it doesn't tell us what great leaders do, right? It actually does not even describe what aspirational leadership theory should be about. It actually, the issue is, it challenges us. It challenges a person at an individual level. It challenges me and you to say, what is it that we want to do as leaders in our own right? So he actually talks about some of the principle, talks about the dream and legacy. How do you craft an inspiring shared dream that will actually propel collective achievement, and that leaves behind a worthy and lasting legacy for current and future generation? Instead of, if you think about the opposite, people are always thinking about self-gratification. People are thinking about how to enrich themselves. So he talks about how do you trim and make sure that you leave behind a legacy, even if you're at a supervisor level, manager level, whatever leadership role that you have. Then he, amongst the ones that I'll highlight the ones that came close to, that were very close to my heart. So the one about, we'll talk about this how to serve, right? That how to serve responsibly and humbly serve all stakeholders, even those without a voice, was pursuing a greater common good that transcends self-interest. I think within, and I'll talk within my context here. So, because you've heard I run an NGO, what's the NGO? I have 6 members in the NGO, and I ensure that the 6 members are heard when they talk to government and they go with a common goal to government. But then the crux of it, it's how do we respond to needs of South Africans. So, for example, something close to your heart will be the issue of your SIM cards. We've come up with a solution for SIM card RICA. Everyone knows that there's a lot of fraud when it comes to RICA. Yes, some of my members are going to lose money because we've introduced new rules as to outside the government frameworks, because you cannot wait for government to come up with a framework. So that's how it says you serve responsibly in this regard. The part that also talks to South Africa closely is about promote and protect and promote. This is wherein you accept liability for protecting and promoting all that is good and that is worth caring for to create a better workplace, society, and the world. And here you can think of what is happening currently within the South African context, that we are always othering each other, even with this immigration crisis, wherein the fault is somebody else. We never take responsibility as leaders collectively, because you find government blaming, oh, you guys are hiring foreign nationals at your houses and therefore you'll be fined 100,000. You are hiring undocumented foreign nationals in your place of business, without saying, as government, we've allowed certain things to happen. We've allowed the borders to remain porous. We've allowed the borders and we've allowed people to overstay their visas. We've allowed, in the example of, like, for instance, if you're looking at in your situation, Prof, those that are in academia, that people, there's 2,000 people that have been found to have applied for study visa, and those people were not studying anywhere in South Africa. And no person other than government is issuing those visas, but it's always other people that are at fault, that universities are hiring people that are not proper. Whereas the university, I say the university or any other person takes the document as the true source as received by government. So those are the things that he's talking about. Then he says, think about the systematic implications, right? Wherein you need to consider the systematic implications of decision on others, society, and the long-term sustainability of socio-economic, ecological systems. So this one, in my mind, is almost about the sustainable developmental goals, right? Because the decisions that you make today have an implication for the future. If you're thinking in my world, we talk about e-waste as to how when we consume technology to ensure that future generations, my grandchildren, will be able to enjoy the clean air that I currently enjoy in South Africa. And then he talks the others that you will know: integrity, accountability. I do not want to go into too much detail in that regard, integrity. But the most important principle is the one that I spoke to at the beginning, which is the one that says being, right? wherein it says responsible leadership is not a leadership style, right? But a way of being. It emerges from the core of one's authentic self through inner transformation. So, in this regard, it's not about your ego, it's not about it's about what is it that you want to show insofar as your leadership in the world and within the South African context. So he goes then, because I'm talking about the being, he goes and talks about what does the way of being entails, right? So it talks about there's a micro level, then there's others, and then there's the planet. So about self, this is how do I show up myself at a micro level, leading with integrity, accountability, and self-awareness. And I must say, I struggle with self-awareness part. I suck at it. I know some people, it might be other areas. Inner transformation is part of the prerequisite. Wherein I say, when I make the example about this one, I call it the going to the balcony effect, right? Wherein all of us know what integrity is, know what accountability is, but the issue of being self-aware, being able to check yourself and be able to say, reflect and say, now, how do I show up in this leadership journey, right? And how do I show up in a way that does not bring my ego to the front. This for me is, as I'm saying, although it's at a foundational level, I'm still struggling with the part of self-awareness, because especially in the leadership space, especially when it comes to this period that we're in, I am struggling with self-awareness. I'm struggling with negotiating, wherein I want to always get my way, right? So I am struggling with that one. I'm just putting it out there so that everyone knows. Then you have this way of being as to what about, which is at the meso level, as to what about others? How do I create value for the society, for other stakeholders? How do I account insofar as relations beyond my teams, beyond the people that I'm supposed to lead? So currently, Prof and colleagues on the call, just to give you an idea, in my board, I'm the only, and oh, lucky, not really. I'm the only female. I always said young. No, there's somebody younger than me now. I'm the only female in the board, right? And each and every time, and it's something that I didn't know before, that as men are always focused on the return, what is it that we're going to receive as a financial value? However, now, because we deal with different stakeholders, even outside my members, how do you show beyond your team outwardly? How do you demonstrate accountability and take those things that you've learned, that you've always possessed at your being, which is your integrity, accountability, and demonstrate those to others so that they see value in what you are bringing to the table. So that is what this demonstrate the meso level, that beyond my constituency, as a responsible leader, I must look over and beyond those that I report to and those that report to me. So there is a research that I saw as well, but it's an old one from 2007 that it's by an author, Mark, that demonstrates that responsible leaders actually who genuinely engage in diverse stakeholder network they are able to build social capital, which is real, measurable, and actually brings value. It does not have to include financial benefits. It actually can build relationships that are mutually beneficial, commitment, and at a later date, you might realize what you wanted to achieve in the first level. Then we have the macro level. This is the one that and I think most especially, and I say this is mostly a more an African way of to deal with things, as to how do you deal with issues of the planet. And I always say to people, we've always known how every decision that we make within the rural communities will come from how to build a society and ecological systems that ensure that the future is is sustainable. So I'll come once again in my sector, for instance, everyone knows the phone called, and I'll call it the colloquial term, dummy phone, tilili. Those are the terms that are used within the South African context. These phones are coming into South Africa because they are cheaper to assemble. They are cheaper to buy. They come to South Africa without them being taxed, right? However, these phones are so disposable that where I'm from, I don't know how to say it in English, but in my where I'm from, we call them Kongepe. So and I'll make it loose, every time I get a social grant payment, I have to buy a handset because that's how cheap this handset is, or I have to buy a charger for this handset. So call means all the time, and then pay means the day that you get paid. And in where I'm from, pay means social grant. So those handsets are available, are disposable. You go to any, let's say, informal settlement, rural area, open a dressing table drawer, there'll be chargers that are of no use, right? And people are buying these. And we have managed to push. The last time we met, Prof, we've pushed government and convinced government and said, you need to introduce a cheaper model of wherein people can have longer term handsets so that you are able to realize the sustainable developmental goals insofar as e-waste. And we said, you have to look at reducing the taxation of 4G handsets. And as of last year, Minister Enoch Godongwana agreed to reduce the tax for some of the high-level devices. So if you think about it, most people on this call, you might be, let's say, having a Samsung, an iPhone, an Honor. You may not identify with what I'm saying. So essentially, all those phones that I'm mentioning, especially the Samsung, the iPhones, all those fancy phones here in South Africa, they are taxed as luxury goods, wherein think of Louis Vuitton, think of all those imported. So that's why the handsets are so expensive. Now you can even pay them on installments of up to 60 months because you have a custom tax, you have VAT, and you have ad valorem tax. So this is the tax that we're saying, okay, try and reduce this tax for handsets so that people have access to handsets that will be longer in the market so that there's not a lot of e-waste around. So minister then agreed that for handsets that are worth 2,500 rands that are 4G, they will be enjoy a tax reduction of 35%. I know it might not look like a lot. It has made a difference, but albeit small. But it has made sure that people have access to these cheaper devices. So that's why I said you always have to think, when you're talking about being, you always at the macro level think of the how does it impact the environment and the global world, so that all decisions and ensure that there is sustainability of the planet. So in my sector, this is quite important because e-waste is one of the worst things that has ever happened in the world. So we are actually going out of our way to make sure that whilst all these decisions are made just to impact our communities, a single spectrum decision in South Africa carries a number of systematic consequences. If you think of the licensing of the high demand spectrum, the 5G as people call it, I'm sorry, colleagues, you correct me when I'm using a lot of technical terms, I know. But it carries a lot of consequences for digital inclusion, right? Economic participation and social cohesion. So if you think about it, that this has a consequence of ripple effect for people's lives that myself, I will never know. Think about it of the person that has a dummy phone. The person that has a dummy phone does not know how to use internet banking, does not know how to use the social media that you are using currently. And the example that Prof spoke about earlier of what I was doing during COVID, we saw at the time of COVID that those that did not have access to devices, those that didn't have access to free data, struggled in terms that the children that were doing matric struggled insofar as passing during that year because they couldn't do online learning. So it is taking forever, but we are looking at the way of being. That's what we're doing as best as we can. It's not cast in stone at this point. So you tell me in terms of my time, Chair, because of me, I don't stop talking, right? So then, Chair, and Prof and colleagues, we have what is called the three interlocked capacities, right? And these three interlocked capacities are the ones that I spoke about, right, just now, as to how do they now interact with the world of work? How do they interact with the world of leadership? So we actually found that as of 2024, there's a report by Gallup that found that 23% of all employees agree that they trust the leadership of their organization, right? In the same research, it was found that wherein leaders communicate clearly, inspire confidence, and lead with genuine integrity, 95% of employees say they trust those leaders fully. Now, if you're looking at the distance between 23% and 95%, this is not a skills gap. It is not a training gap. It is a character and authenticity gap, right? That is why I spend quite a few minutes explaining those capacities in terms of the macro and the meso and the macro. So that you will see that at the core of it, moral authenticity needs to be there for you to be taken seriously as a leader. If you think of moral authenticity in our recent example in South Africa, why this is critical. Think of the absence wherein moral authenticity is not there. When it's absent, think of the Transnet scandal, wherein the then CEO, Brian Molefe, and the then CFO, Anuj Singh, allegedly siphoned funds to the Gupta family, right? Inflating a project that was meant to be 38 billion rands to over 50 billion rand. This is actually one of those illustrations that absence of moral authenticity produces at a scale, right? And we have seen time and time and again that officials that have been reportedly aware that the deals violated the PFMA, they proceeded with those deals despite knowing that, right? So you will see if you are looking at the Zondo Commission report that accountability mechanisms have actually deliberately been bypassed. And people that are competent have been replaced by loyalists in order to facilitate corruption and such corruption without consequence. So this is where that when we talk about meaning, when we're talking about authenticity, moral authenticity, where you see that there is no conviction to do the right thing, no courage to act on it, and no genuine acceptance of liability. Then there is meaningfulness, right? So meaningfulness here, in a way, we look at wherein what beyond the salary that I earn, beyond the targets that the company has, beyond the status of the position that I hold, can can everything that we do actually stand the test of time of being meaningful. If you think about things that are meaningful, we haven't seen them in recent years. Honestly, where in a person, despite the role that I don't even have an example, and I don't want to be the boring person that would make an example about Nelson Mandela and what they did. We have not seen it. Right? I haven't seen it. I tried and I checked and I checked. I was like, I don't know where meaningfulness has happened in recent years. I think since at least 1999, I have not seen. And maybe colleagues, you will challenge me on this. And then we also have to have a reflective mindset. This is what this whole being is all about as well. That without reflection, looking at um, what is it that I have done, then the experience does not become learning, right? So the reflective mindset is about a discipline wherein you are able to synthesize and uncover patterns and in order to gain insight into your leadership journey, right? Including confronting the whatever unconscious aspects of self that you may have, which I did say this is one of the areas that some of us struggle with. I know that some from time to time, I do struggle with it. So here we've seen, especially Madlanga, Zondo Commission, that the cost of no reflection of leaders. We've seen even one of the Zondo, this Madlanga Commission did something in December, bought a house for 5 million rands with not, the person doesn't even think, what is it that what does this mean? So the cost of being unable to reflect, we see it in these commissions um, that are happening around. So responsible leaders are first and foremost responsible for themselves, and this is the foundation upon which this type of leadership is built. So I see the time is quarter to chair, and I wanted to, and I'll pause some of the things I'm going to read, or I send the Word document because the PowerPoint is a bit strange. I'll pause there and I'll allow people to come in because I have gone through most articles I could see on responsible leadership. But this is what I wanted to share with yourselves at this point. I'm sorry that I sound like this, but this is how I sound like every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, my sister, for this uh, great nuggets. Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's a time to engage Ms Nomvuyiso, and we can talk about responsible leadership. We can talk about, you can see that she's a guru and the expert when it comes to ICT issues or areas. I know that most of you would like to know, maybe if you can just come, we'll start with that question, the elephant in the room system. Can you just assist us in a very simplest, way? Why ICASA is resisting Starlink to come to South Africa? What's wrong with um, Starlink, really. We are told it's a very cheapest, very accessible, very good. But ICASA is just saying that no, assist us with that.
Thank you, Prof. No, Prof, I don't think it's a question of resistance by the regulator. However, you would have seen even this week in Namibia, I think it was in Namibia, it's about the rule of law, right? Wherein each and every person has come in to South Africa to operate. I'll make the example, one of my members, Liquid Intelligent. Liquid Intelligent is a Zimbabwean company, but they came into South Africa and they followed our laws and they said 30% triple BE in South Africa. They found partners in South Africa. However, with the likes of Starlink, as you would have seen, colleagues, that there was even a move to try and remove the triple BE requirement. At this point, everyone is playing within the rules of triple BE. And those that do not play within the rules of triple BE do not have a license in South Africa. Think of your Googles of this world. Think of your Microsofts of this world. Those do something that is called equity equivalent, which is run by DTIC. However, Starlink does not want equity equivalent. No, does not want triple BE, they want equity equivalent. And now, of concern is what about those people? And this is the question that we said even to the policymakers. There are people that have made investment decisions, such as the Vodafones of this world. They've made investment decisions based on triple BE laws in South Africa. And if you want to change triple BE laws in South Africa, do it in a systematic way, not in an abrupt way, only to serve one person. So ICASA was like, look, by creature of statute, this is how we've always applied the statute. When Vodafone came here, this is what we said. When Orange went to come to South Africa, we said these are the rules. Orange elected not to come. When the Guptas, ironically, yes, when the Guptas wanted to be licensed, if you remember the ANN7 channel, ICASA was the only one that was standing that says, no, sir, we cannot license you without having this requirement in South Africa. So that's how, no matter how good your offering is, you will be stuck with this question of how do you ensure you fit the environment that you are meant to play in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So it's not what um, Elon Musk is saying that it's because he's a white, he's not allowed to participate in South Africa because he's a white. But thank you so much for that explanation. It's very important so that we must not assume that we all really understand what is playing out there, what is happening, because probably most of us, we may be asking ourselves that but we hear that this product or this service is quite accessible, it's very cheap, and then why are we denying our people to have it? So there is that. But if I may ask, well, do you think will this ever be solved or resolved? In terms of finding one another, in terms of Starlink. Maybe accepting the South Africans' laws and also coming down and coming. Or there's this arrogance that wherever they go, they want to bully and does as they wish.
So what has happened is we've engaged extensively both with the regulator and the Department of Communications and Technologies. So people think it's Starlink only that wants to come to South Africa or is in South Africa. We have the likes of Amazon, right? We have Eurostat. Those are offering the similar services as Starlink. It's just that Starlink has a lot, I'll say, a bigger brand. So, with how did the other people are here in South Africa? How do they manage to ensure that they have presence in South Africa. They're doing it in a number of ways through sub-licensing. So let's say somebody will enter into an agreement with a telecom, for example, and then telecom will offer, and the satellite service, by the way, globally, it's used as a gap filler. So a gap filler is this, a gap filler is wherein there is no connectivity. Let's say Free State. I'm sorry for those who come from the or let me say Northern Cape. Let me say Northern Cape, wherein you have more sheep than people, and there is no capacity to roll out base stations of 5G technology. Then you could only operate. So you operate as a satellite provider in those areas that there is no connectivity. Hence, we call it a gap filler. So Telkom is using some in rural areas. MTN is doing the same. Ironically, um, Starlink has entered into agreements elsewhere in Africa through MTN, and here in South Africa, they have an agreement through Vodacom. It's mostly to make sure connectivity in mines and in some farms here in South Africa. I know people say, hey, there's Starlink in South Africa. Yes, there's Starlink, but through a sub-licensing regime that is through Vodacom, especially in those areas. If you think of the Free State, the border between Free State and some parts of Lesotho, wherein there is something in spectrum wherein we say there shouldn't be a spillover, right? So spectrum from South Africa should not spill over into Lesotho. The same with Lesotho should not spill over into South Africa. So in those areas, there'll be a radius that a gap that network operators will allow each other not to enter at all because you have no control of how frequency will go. If you remember, if you're people from Putatswana, we used to listen to Bob, Radio Bob back in the day. That was a spillover. So there are very strict international laws on spillover. So those areas, they use satellite. In mines, they use satellite. And it's mostly European companies that are satellite. And I must say, it is not cheap, by the way, because it's dollar based, it's US dollar based. So it's only for those that can afford, even in those areas.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is very, very helpful. It's quite helpful to all of us. Do we have ICT strategy in South Africa as things stand now?
So I don't want to be. Let me. I do a lot of stakeholder relations, so let me be careful about this. So we do. We have a document that we rely on called the White Paper on ICT, which was published in the year of after Jesus of 2015, right? So that is the basis that we rely on. Then the second one that we are pushing government to rely on is that, look, that is outdated. You've brought in people like Professor Marwala and all those people that were in the Presidential Commission. They came up with a Presidential Commission report, all those experts, the 22-member expert. And this report even had an implementation plan that no one, you haven't seen, I've seen it, and proposing how government should implement the ICT strategy throughout various components of government, be it SAPS, be it whoever. So we have this document. However, I think it's about the issues of capacity, skill to look at it. But I must say, I am encouraged. I need to say this with the GNU. As of this, I think last month, we have a DDG for policy. We have not had a DDG for policy in ICT since 2016. The child that was born that year is 10 years old now. So it's the first time that we have a DDG policy, which we've never had. We didn't even have, we only had one chief director, one person that was only dealing with broadcasting, by the way. So we don't, to cut a long story short, we have not had any legislation that keeps up with technological advancements since 2008. We have not had a white paper since 2015. We have not had any other document that is recent except the Presidential Commission for 4I report of Professor Marwala and them. So those are the three kind of documents we rely on. And when we say, especially the economists on the call, when people say um, uh, industry overtakes policy, this has gone in leaps and bounds. By the time Google came into South Africa, they came in when there was a lacuna. By the time Facebook came and became Meta, they came in when there was a lacuna. You cannot go back and insist that those people must be licensed. You just have to find new ways as to how they must plow back responsibly in South Africa, because currently that is not what is happening.
So in other words, we can say that that was a lack of responsible leadership from the government or from the ministers who were there till now. Obviously, I don't know whether the current minister is busy with it or what is happening.
He is, because I'll be honest with you, but so this is how I say I've been in the ICT space since 2005 or six, thereabout. We've had 12 ministers. So when there was this reshuffle, that it was the first time that we're not impacted by a reshuffle. So for us, for me, when we talk about responsible leadership, it also talks to the DGs that have been there, right? If you think of departments such as science and innovation, that science and innovation, no matter what happens in the political sphere, it will remain constant, because they know the people that work there, because they're researchers, they know what doesn't matter who the minister is. Actually, I don't even know who the minister is right now, but you know the kind of work that they are doing. You follow it. You are able to say, oh, this is what, oh, that's when you talk about responsible leadership, it's not only political, it's also what I do in my own space as the person that has been entrusted with the resources of our country. That's where we are. Yeah.
Wow, the Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovation is Dr. Blade Nzimande. And that is
I haven't heard of him in forever. I thought when he was in higher education. I know he left there. I thought he was in retirement. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I offend anyone from their colleagues.
no,
I'm not
you're right.
ignorant.
Yeah. No. I mean, you're right. Definitely, you're correct. I wonder even here in this call how many people who knew who is the Minister of Science, Technology, and
Yeah.
Innovation. But definitely is Dr. Blade
Mm.
Nzimande. Yes, it is.
Even Pumi knows it. Okay, Pumi, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. Yeah.
Thank you. Listen, gentlemen, any questions, any comments before we close the session to Ms Nomvuyiso about yeah, she's an ICT guru. Please do go take this. You may want to take this opportunity and really engage and ask. Otherwise, we may not find another person or another opportunity to come in. Yeah. Anyone wants to come in there? Dr. Glovo, I see that do you want to ask
Yeah.
something? But I see that
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Prof, for this opportunity. I actually made sure that I listened to the speaker very, very well. And I'll try just to ask a question, not from the technological point of view. She was very technical, and thank you so very much for that. We have learned quite a lot. I wanted just to bring in a question, especially when it comes to responsible leadership, because I heard making a lot of reference actually to the people in government as leaders. And from what we have so far learned, I want to believe that leadership is not positional. Leadership is influence. And there has been this culture in our African context where we feel that anybody that goes into a position of power or authority automatically becomes a leader. And I think that that those of us who are coming from the academic background and so on and so forth must be able to redefine things and be able to make society know that just because somebody has been appointed as a minister doesn't mean that they are a leader. They are a manager. They are managing that particular portfolio, and leaders do not necessarily even hold positions like herself. She's really a very powerful leader. I must really commend her for that. The way she has just explained a lot of things. You can see that not even some of these ministers would be able to explain that. So my question to her is, what do you think we need to do in order for us to redefine leadership within our African context? Because there's a lot of expectation, when it comes to Black people. We expect a lot from government. We want the president to do this. If they don't do this, we react. And we are blaming everybody who supposedly is in a government position for not delivering certain services. How are we going to really change the narrative and get back to the place where leadership is not positional? Leadership is influence and is transformational. That's what I just wanted to bring about, because this is a problem we are having throughout the continent. It's not only in South Africa, it's everywhere. Everybody thinks because somebody is in a position, then they're a leader. Imagine in Africa having somebody like Trump, and with so much expectation that we have on those that are in power. How much would Trump definitely be able to mess us up? So please help us, leadership, on how we can redefine leadership, and what are some of the processes that we can engage to redefine leadership, so that we begin to realize that leadership is not positional. It is influence. It starts with me, where I am as a father, as a husband, as a parent, just where I am. And I don't have to feel a sense of, somebody else is going to do the job for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Doc. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ms Nomvuyiso.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndlovu. Really appreciate that input. Indeed. So if you go through the slides, especially the word, you'll see that the point is that leadership starts with self, right? The being, right? So it doesn't matter whether they call you a supervisor, a manager, a whomever. It's about how you are able to be self-aware as a person and lead yourself with integrity and be able to reflect. But just the example that you made, especially when you were talking about positional leadership, it actually made me think, as you were talking, Doc, about just this Badlanga commission that we're having. I actually said the other week, I was talking to my husband here at home. I said, I don't even know what Minister Mchunu did, why the Madlanga Commission exists, because it just shows everyone was doing their own thing. So now within the African context, it starts indeed as to how we show up, instead of always saying, what is Dr. Ndlovu doing for me? It needs me to be able to say, how do I ensure that I'm able to convince Dr. Ndlovu to be able to lead myself, if he's my leader, in a manner that is transformative. However, in recent years, I must say, we have shown time and time and again, we've seen even in the UK, we nominate the so-called leaders based on popularity, right? Based on the failure of the previous regime compared to the current one. We have not been able to reflect and say, what is it that is good that we require from a leadership collective? And even here in South Africa, we're going to the local government elections. You will see all these people that are busy in the streets right now. Excuse me, we know some of them are looking for positions. You look and you say, you look like, who is funding these people? We know these people are not leaders. So it's how within I think for me, the part that is missing, and as I was going through this book and others, I've been even, Prof, you laugh, I was even reading Caster Semenya's book on how she identifies. I said the part that is missing is that all this body of work that as academics you are doing, and I'm saying we, I'm including myself as a person from outside, we stumble upon it. If I happen to follow Prof Majola on YouTube, then it will refer me to Dr. Ndlovu. Then I'll find out about Dr. Ndlovu by mistake. But if I don't engage in such content, then I'll always be pointing fingers and say, hey, when a President Ramaphosa, what are you doing? When a President Kagame, what are you doing about my borders? It's that systematic thing. And we have seen in the entire continent from down south up until up north, we are leading with our egos. We are leading with our pockets. We are not thinking about tomorrow. We are not leading with integrity. All those things are not there. And you guys are doing the work, but I mean, every time I attend your session, I learn something new. And I'm like, but I didn't know this, right? But that information is not going out there for people to know. It's all the popular people that are making noise out there that they tend to be listened to. And it does not help as well that when I see Prof. Majola on TV, they only ask him easy questions that do not really talk about leadership. They'll talk about that crisis at that particular. They are not as intellectually engaging. And it is a deliberate strategy within the African context in totality that we must not engage with the real issues, and we must always have that gap between those who are enlightened and those who are not enlightened. So we're always having that gap, and we're trying, doc, to really close that gap, even with the young people, the crisis that we're having, even those with degrees. You must see, as small as my organization is, I'll be like, do attend. You learn a lot of that. So it's one of those things that is, I don't know, I don't have an answer, I'll be honest, but it takes all of us here. That's what I will say.
Thank you. Thanks, my sister. Thank you. And thanks, Dr. Ndlovu. And by the way, Dr. Ndlovu is doing a great work in the African continent, for the whole African continent, when it comes to leadership, developing leaders. I've addressed many of his conferences and of his initiatives when he has really engaging great leaders in the whole continent. So we need leaders like that. And thank you. We need people who will take it. Someone will be doing here in South Africa, someone will be doing in the continent. And thank you so much to him. I think it was him then, the chat room was agreeing with you. I want to suggest that maybe you can give us your parting shots, Ms Nomvuyiso, your closing remarks, and then we close the session. Over to you, sis.
Thank you. I see it's already 10 past. I'm so sorry for overstaying. Prof, you say I'm used to chairperson, Prof. Prof, and the esteemed colleagues on the call, I must say, each and every day, and when I have time and I join you and I listen on a Wednesday, for me, it's been an honor to come before you because you have a wealth of knowledge that I think South Africans are not exposed to. You're exposing us to different people that come here. And mine was just a little bit to say we as this global African, South African context, we need to practice the art of being, the art of knowing oneself, the art of being able to say, what is it that I'm bringing to the world? What does it look like to lead with integrity? Even if it's out of fashion, we know people are going to say, he thinks it's better, right? So for me, that's what I wanted to share with yourselves because I have been enriched each and every time. And I thank you for the work that you do, Prof, and the platform that you provide, and the colleagues. I value your time that you've brought. You've come this evening and listening to me, and I wish you all the best and good evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As you can do, others they've started already. Why don't you find an icon there down as we show some appreciation to Nomvuyiso. Thank you so much. This is a sign of our appreciation to you for coming and for empowering us tonight. Thank you so much. Really, we admire you, the work you do. I mean, really, we want people like you. When we look at SABC, we see that, wow, the SABC board has got great leaders there. And then we wish you all the best and in any other initiatives that you are involved in. Thank you so much for empowering us tonight and for availing yourself. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, especially to those who joined us for the first time, thank you. Remember that we meet every Wednesdays. We'll be here again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place, same login details. We talk leadership. We just want to empower each other and continuously and constantly remind ourselves the importance of leadership. That where there's great leadership, people strive, communities thrive, companies thrive, and even nations thrive. So that's what we are trying to do in this platform. And also, us as leaders, just to remind ourselves our responsibility as leaders, that when you say you're a leader, what exactly it means. That's what we do in this platform. So thank you so much for joining us. Please remember that Bafana Bafana is playing at 3 p.m., not 3 p.m., 3 a.m. 3 a.m. I don't know how many of you will be awake at that time. Those who will be sleeping, then we will assist you and we will tell you what the score was. Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. The session is adjourned now. May God bless you and may God bless Africa. Kosi Sigalela, Africa, our beautiful continent. Thank you. Until next week. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you.